Okay, hello everybody. We're here for our fourth installment of our Q&A sessions with Mark Murphy. Today, we're going to be discussing a bit more about Mark's recent filming in Hungary. So, hi Mark, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. So, I mean, in the previous Q&As, we've talked about your films retrospectively, but how about the ones that you are currently working on at present?
Um, yeah, so currently, it's two films that we're shooting concurrently. We're shooting in one. So think of like a 3 hour film that we're splitting into two because it's a part one, part two film. But yes, we're currently shooting over, as you say, in Hungary. And it's a comedy. It's hard to describe it because you'd think it's a horror because it's set in the Devil's Summer House, but it's not in any way scary. Think of it more as like almost like a Tim Burton fairy tale with a bit of Terry Gilliam thrown in. It's nice that I uh, compare a film I'm doing with those two.
So what inspired you when you were writing the script for this one?
Um, so I think. Ironically the name, because I originally had a different project called Hallelujah. It wasn't really much more than a treatment, a synopsis. But I just love the name Hallelujah. That one was based on the unluckiest village in the world that does a deal with the devil to finally get rid of their curse, and his deal is, well, yeah, sure, I'll make you the luckiest village in the world, except in return, I need you to look after hell for a year because I haven't had a holiday for a very long time. So they end up caretaking hell, and I think that whole kind of caretaking their devil's place became about these two demons who are stuck in the devil's summer house for 200 years, and they're desperate to get out, but the devil keeps lying to them. Funnily enough, but yeah, I was writing during lockdown was when it really started kicking off. I mean, a lot of people had a terrible lockdown a couple of years ago, but mine wasn't as bad. I was lucky enough to have a garden to work in, so I wasn't sort of housebound on a fifth floor flat. Um, so and it was like that great summer, so I was able just to sit outside and write away without much distraction. So I guess also the idea of being trapped in a place you wanted to get out of, that was the perfect timing for it to
Mhm.
bring in inspiration.
Yeah, and like you say, it's good that we had kind of productive lockdown for you then, definitely. So how did it get off the ground? Did you have any help? What was that sort of process like?
Yeah, I think I sort of spoke to the producer I usually talk to and said, "Hey, can you?" That's what I usually work with, and said, "Can you finance this?" And whilst he said yes, I get the impression he had too many projects on, so he wasn't able to really give this the time it needed to get the money. And so I ended up exploring options myself, and this is the first time I've actually done that for a film is raise the finance, and it was horrible, truly horrible, but managed to do it. So yeah, once you get that part in place, the rest does start to fall in, and there is unfortunately some of the crew I normally would have worked with weren't available, which meant starting anew. So it really was like, in a sense, doing a film for the first time in terms of taking on different roles, working with different people. But I think it's going to be worth it. I really do.
For someone who isn't a filmmaker, like the majority of us out here, can you kind of explain the technical and structural process of how a film comes to be?
The long and short answer, the short answer is you get the money, you get the relevant heads of department, spend 6, 8 weeks developing, get the idea fleshed out in all departments. So people decide, okay, this is the costumes they should wear, this is the location and how we'll dress it, and blah, blah, blah. Once you got all those pieces together, it's like, I don't know, if you think about cooking a meal, you get all the ingredients together, prepare them, and then just start cooking. More specifically, once you get into production, obviously, you film away, and then once you've done all that, that's where the real film making happens. When you're in the edit, you can recreate the film 100 different times, create a different story. So there's no interesting way of doing this apart from If you turned up on a film set, you might be surprised that it's like running an army. It's very military style structured. Yeah, but it's also quite exciting when you've got a good crew. It's exhilarating to watch when you've got an awful crew. It's like watching a car crash, and I've been in both situations.
You've spoken about this being a comedy, it's not a horror. You've done other things in the past. How is this one different from your previous projects?
I think, well, the budget's better for starters, and that does really give you a lot more. It means that this is like a 10-week shoot, not a 4 or 5, which is what I've typically been able to afford. The quality of the people improves. Primarily, I think the script is a lot stronger. In the past, the previous films, I've been on second or third draft of the script, and then it's like, okay, we'll film in 3 months. So you've got that time to try and improve. With this one, obviously, I had a few years. So looking back at the films I did, there were a lot of issues that I remember thinking, oh man, if I'd only done that, there's these scenes make me laugh, but they don't join together with the rest of the scenes. They seem disjointed. And so it was so much more attention paid to the characters, the subplots, the I hate the word motivation, but each scene had to end with a question to keep the audience engaged, and then the start of the next one had to have a purpose, i.e., to address a previous question. If you've got a scene that doesn't either answer something or ask something, it's a redundant scene. So it was more analytical going through the scripting and just so much focus on the minutiae because at the end of the day, the tiniest little hole will just make the whole thing fall apart. So this was how it was different. I had more time to really try and make that script as strong as I could.
So, like you said, you spent a lot of the time on the script. How was it, or is it filming and seeing the characters that you've written come to life?
Well, it comes down to, in a sense, here comes a cat, by the way. Are you ready? Make your cameo. There we go. It comes down to a few things. Obviously, your location, does it feel like what you were thinking when you wrote it? Um, Obviously, the key thing is the actors. Do they get under the skin of the characters you wrote? Do they bring in the emotional kind of uh elements you saw when you were writing? Is that level of angry right for that scene? Is it a character that you want to watch more, feel sorry for, put you off, all those kind of things? So yeah, when you're filming it, it does, ideas when you're sat in your garden just typing away and not thinking about the reality of how it's going to look when it comes to the technical part of actually making it. You just sort of in your head, just tap, 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 and then obviously turning that into something real, which is actually so much more complex and costly. It then becomes, yeah, it's sort of, you find a few surprises along the way. You may have written the script, but it changes so much when you put characters in. And then consequently, once you start seeing these elements, it starts affecting your judgment for how everything else goes. So you start looking at your own script from a completely different angle, is one way of putting it, I guess.
So, like you said, this was a longer shoot than what you normally do. Do you have any fun, interesting stories from the shoot that you can share with us?
No. No, I mean, disasters all the way in terms of filming in the winter last year. It was just everything shut down. All the equipment broke down. We had no power. The toilets froze over. So fortunately, I had my own director's toilet. But yeah, the honey wagon, as they're called, literally everything froze over. And yeah, it was a complete nightmare.
So, finally, just to sum up this, how would you, in a short sentence, describe this film?
It's two lovable demons desperately trying to escape whilst two desperate TV filmers try and exploit the situation when they discover this haunted house and each plays against each other. And that's not even a short sentence, and it certainly doesn't really sum it up, but it's about two sets of characters playing against the other one. And it is actually quite amusing, and it is very character driven, and it's actually very unusual. There aren't really many films like this. But it really is. I mean, I guess it's our attempt of doing a kind of Beetlejuice. So that's the kind of ballpark of where we're aiming. I think I've done a good job writing the script. I've done a terrible job pitching it. I'll get someone else to write the log line, the pitch when the film's finished. Otherwise, no one will ever watch it. Probably not even myself.
Well, thank you for that, Mark. It's definitely been interesting, and I'm excited to see the film. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up with you again soon.
Thank you very much.